welcome to Two Non-Doctors. I'm Liz Mealy.
I'm Maria Shahada.
It's just nice that it's raining where I am and where you are.
Yeah. It was
Doesn't
like
that make you feel like we're not that dramatic?
I know. We don't get thunderstorms very much here, so it's all very exciting. My flatmate had just left to go on a walk, and it just just poured down.
Oh.
I know. I mean, it's not funny, I guess, but it was. And and she came back
like it's actually kind of like some kind of tragic comic strip.
Yeah.
where she's like, I'm gonna get some sunlight and do something good for my body, and the earth is like, not on my watch.
That's exactly what Johnny said. He was like, the earth was like, not today, cunt. Yeah.
There's something so I can't tell you how many times I've had that thought where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get stuff done, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna get like, and then it rains and I'm like, why on my productive energy day do you make it so hard? Like never do I pop out of bed like I'm gonna get all this stuff done and I'm gonna be out in the real world. So upsetting.
Yeah, I know. Did I tell you how like I got off the bus the other day and this African woman, she must have been like 50. I don't know how old she was, but like I turned around. I don't even know why I turned around. She wasn't like trying to tap me on the shoulder or anything, but I turned around, she was right there, and I took off my headphones and she was like, you have this one, and pointed at her hip. And I was like, what? And she was like, you have this one. And so I thought my phone was falling out of my pocket. So I was like, oh, no, my phone wasn't falling out of my pocket. And she goes, no, you have this one. And I was like, oh, I have a big ass.
How old was this woman that she felt compelled to let you know about the ass you clearly know you have?
She was like, I don't know, she's like older than me, but like not super old. So I want to say like 50 or something. And like, thank you. I appreciate it. But like I grew up in Ohio in the 90s where the beauty standard was Kate Moss, and I'm still not over it. You know what I mean?
You can't rewrite that. Like, it is funny how much it's all changed, where like the fact that our eyebrows and having eyebrows is in, where before it was like plucked till it was like one hair, or the fact that like having curves are in, or whatever, big lips, like all this stuff that was like just genetically who we are, all of a sudden people are getting surgery to get. And you're like, hey man, I still hate myself. Yeah. Like, you did the damage.
Yeah, that damage it's shaped early and it's strong. And like, I don't care like how much the Kardashians in it. The Kardashians have been in for so long that I'm almost afraid they're gonna like try to go back to stick thin, which it almost seems like it can't happen now. But
yeah.
But well, like that was beyond, the damage was done by then. And I was told that like Kate Moss was hot and that I was not. Like I remember I was telling Johnny that I was like, I didn't really see myself in that way, except when I accidentally saw like the cover of a Mexican porno in a shop, like a porno magazine. And he's like, what are you, a Ginsberg poem?
It's so funny because there's so many like tweets and Instagram posts about like representation matters, and they're usually talking about children, where like you look at Encanto and there's like a little boy and he has curly hair and he's brown, or you know what I mean, or like there's more and more like Disney princesses that aren't just like these, you know, white stick, you know, less Elsa's, more whoever the girl in Encanto is. So, you know, development. And so they show like all these kids being excited that they look like, and it's all like like there was like a little tweet where a black boy was wearing a Spider-Man t-shirt, and the woman goes, and he went into a bookstore and he goes, and this woman goes, oh, who's your favorite Spider-Man? And he says, you know, Peter Parker. And she goes, what about Miles? And he's like, who's Miles? And she's like, oh, there's a whole Spider-Man where it's Miles, and it's this, and they actually made a cartoon out of it. It's amazing, or an animation out of it. But he's black, or I think he's Dominican. So he shows it to the kid, and the kid freaks out. He like runs to his mom. He's just like, Mom, Spider-Man looks like me. And it's a whole like representation matters. And you're like, yeah, that's beautiful. but it matters as an adult, and we like don't talk about it. Like we don't talk about the fact that like it feels nice now, and I see it more and more that like women with curves are actually like modeling the dress that you might buy on, you know, whatever website, where there's actually just, they're not super tall, they're stocky, they have curves, they're bigger, but it is like more and more I'm like, oh, I actually know what that dress is going to look like on me.
Yeah, exactly. There was a picture of Lena Dunham like years ago. I don't know if she was at the Grammys or where she was, but she was being all short, stocky Lena Dunham next to tall, thin ass Taylor Swift and two other supermodels. And so it's like three big, like tall, beautiful women. And then Lena Dunham just looking up at them like they were all friends, but she really looked like somebody's little sister. Like, can I hang out too? And I just never felt so connected to a picture.
Yeah. Can I borrow your purse? Can I borrow your purse? Guys. Well, congratulations on this woman discovering your ass. I think
it really kind of fucks me up because like every time I walk past a guy, like for my whole life, I guess not my whole life, I guess there's points where I was a child that maybe not, but like I'm always like, oh God, please don't be looking at my ass. Much of the time, especially in New York, they would comment. And then you kind of get you, but I guess that's why I like being in England, because it's like they don't do it as much. It still happens here, but it's just not as prominent as in New York. But then just to have a lady just like like a woman doing that, and she totally meant it as a compliment. Like her beauty standards are completely different to what I grew up with. But I was like,
she's almost like giving you the thumbs up. She's like, way to do it.
Yeah, bitch. I don't know what your dietary like meal plan is, but it's working. And I'm like, no, I've been doing yoga for fucking months. This was really disheartening, to be honest.
I thought I was in the right direction, and then you were just like, no, it looks like you've been doing squats every day.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I lost some weight on my face, but my ass is staying put. It's just not, there's nothing happening.
Well, she was trying to say that it's lovely, and that maybe we need to work on how we feel about ourselves because of Kate Moss. I think that's really I really think this is like a sign from the universe that's about acceptance.
I guess so, but it's also like, don't comment on my ass.
Yeah, no, that's true too. It doesn't matter if it's from a man or a woman. How about we keep these thoughts to ourselves?
Yeah, like if she had been like nice hair, I'd have been like, hell yeah, thank you. I worked really hard on this hair.
You know, there's 17 hair products, and this cost me $90 to do.
Yeah. And so it wasn't like she was commenting on my ass to be like, nice ass. Like I'd hit that. Like she was like commenting on my ass to be like, nice hair, you know, like just the same level of, I just admire what you got going on there. No sexual whatever. But it was just, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I have to undo all the shit.
Because you know what's really funny is she's probably very accepting of her body. So she was like, because I've noticed, as I know my hair's straight in this episode, but as I've learned to love my curls and not fight them as much, I am more excited when I see other curly haired people, and I love like their hair. Like this woman did my makeup for my special, and she had the best curls. So she's literally like putting on eyeliner. I was like, your hair looks perfect. She's like, thank you, Liz. I was like, no, what do you use? Like almost being like annoying or whatever. And it's because like now that I love my curls, I'm more excited to like learn about other people's curls. I notice when like people have great like, you know, it's almost the first thing I say to you every time I see you. I'm like, your curls look perfect today.
I know. I'm getting rid of them next week, actually.
What do you mean getting rid of them?
I think I'm gonna do a keratin treatment because I'm tired of, my good hair days haven't been as prominent as they used to be, and I'm tired of like worrying about it. I don't have time. I want to do other things. I want to think about other things other than my hair.
So you're straightening it?
Yeah. And I'm getting liposuction. Let's move on.
What?
No, I'm kidding.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Announcements?
Yeah, I feel like I broke your heart.
I was like, what? My baby. Announcements. Ready?
Yeah.
Thank you to all. Thank you to all our Patreons, everybody that contributes, everybody that supports us. We are very grateful. If you don't know, you can get early access to episodes. You can get weekly bonus episodes. You can get monthly bonus episodes. You can get stickers. You can control our Googles. You can be a Google guest. There's all these beautiful benefits to being a Patreon, and you can do that at patreon.com/2nondoctors. That's the number 2 and the full word doctors.
Yeah, and you can follow us on the socials. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at @2nondoctors, and on Instagram at @2nondrs. And it just sounded like under duress. And you can what else? Oh yeah, if you're having time and you're feeling kind, please leave us a rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. I think you can leave us a rating on Spotify because it helps us out, helps us get seen. We love it. We share it with our friends and social media and stuff. And thank you to everyone who's left reviews so far. Also, you can review my album too on Apple, which
it's a great idea.
Told me,
That's a great idea. That stuff kind of helps.
Yeah, a few people have told me they reviewed it, but I haven't been able to see it because I think I'm in the UK. So, A, Liz, I'm gonna have to ask you to read some to me, and B, but yeah, if you can review my album, if you can buy my album on Bandcamp. The best way to support me is to buy it on Bandcamp, but you can also stream it on iTunes. And if you love it, share it, rate it, review it. But yeah, just listen to it. Thanks.
It's so good. I just recorded my new special last Sunday, a week ago. So hopefully that will be somewhere at some point in sometime in the future. I love that announcement. Great announcement, Liz. I'm hoping it'll come out sometime in June. But until then, I am touring. I'm in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, this weekend. Then I'll be in Boston the next weekend. And then I have a bunch of stuff. I think I'm in a bunch of cities in Michigan. Oh, I'm going to be in Vegas. That's what I wanted to say. I'm going to be in Vegas. I know, I'm so excited because my friend John moved back to Vegas and we've been trying to figure out how to hang out. It's actually kind of funny. So John is my little sister's best friend, and she has to go to Vegas for work, and she texted him to be like, hey, I'm coming to Vegas. And then the same day I got booked for Vegas, and I was like, John, I'm coming to Vegas. So he had 2 different mealies being like, I'm going to hang out with you.
Oh, that's so cool.
And he's lived with 2 mealies. He's actually lived with 3 out of 5 mealies. John is a very special man.
Very patient man.
But anyway, he's wonderful. I love John. Okay, so May 19th I'll be in Vegas, then I'll be in Sunnyvale, California, and then I added a couple of other stuff. I don't know if I told people. DC Improv in July, San Francisco in August, and then I just booked Greenwood Village, Colorado. I think it's like right outside of Denver, and Keystone, Colorado, and those are both in September. So everything's on my website, but I'm adding dates. But I'm pretty excited about Vegas and DC and San Francisco. Fan mail?
The fan mail we have today is from Phil. And Phil says, thanks for another episode full of lulls, talking back to the screen and nodding along in agreement. I love that. I love like talking and nodding and not yelling.
Yeah. What are these girls saying?
You're so wrong. It was interesting hearing how 2 people who are often in the spotlight on a stage still experience the same social anxieties as, quote, regular humans. I have lots of public speaking experience, but I still consider myself to be shy. I can hold my own in a crowded elevator, but if given the chance, I'll wait for the next car. When dealing with any social anxiety, do you feel that, when dealing with any social anxiety, do you feel your skills in conquering any stage fright carry over to be useful in your personal lives or vice versa? I'd love watching you 2 interact with a live stream audience, but it's nice just being allowed to sit in on a good conversation between 2 friends every show. Love your format and authenticity, Phil. That's nice.
That's so nice, Phil.
We should do live stream.
Yeah, it's funny. I think during the pandemic was its heyday, and I don't know if people are still.
We'll talk about it later. I disagree. Yeah. We'll talk about it later. But yeah.
We'll have this fight later, young lady. I personally feel like my confidence in social settings, at parties, meeting new people it took a while and it took some reframing, but I do think everything I've learned in doing stage, crowd work and it just performing in general has made me stronger and maybe not less fearful, but more likely to talk myself out of being fearful when I am in a social setting. Would you say the same is for you?
I don't know if I know how to talk myself out of anything. I think your 8 years of therapy or however long is like really like you've built those tools and skills. And then I call you and you just do it for me.
Yeah, that's true. I've given you a lot of free therapy and you're welcome.
You have, but I don't take it on board. I just kind of go, all right, next time I need you as a crutch, I'll call you. But
yeah. We're at a party together. I'm just FaceTiming. I'm just right here. This is my friend Maria.
I do think I'm more confident in social settings, but I guess it depends on it just depends on what the situation is. Like, again, I still can't go around the room and say a thing about myself. That terrifies me.
I still can't do that. It's really hard.
Yeah.
I've never done a good, say something about yourself. I'm always like, I have a cat. Is that the right answer? Like,
my heart pounds. I'm like, wait, I'm like thinking of what I'm going to say. And I have no idea what anyone else is saying when you're supposed to be getting to know them. And then it gets to me and I'm like, my name's Maria. I do comedy. And people are like, oh,
seems like it's a great skill set for you.
But then there are people who go on and on and on and on and on. And that's its own form of nerves, because it's just like, wow, dude, that's stop.
My favorite is in those round circles where they're like, say something about yourself. And they're like, so I was born in, and you're like, too early. We started not that far. What do we do? No.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm sure it's helped. I know that like in acting class, for instance, I feel like I had more confidence just from all the stand-up I've done. And I'm like, these aren't even my words. Like, this is easy,
Yeah.
But especially like performing in front of the class, which I was still nervous, but I was much less nervous than say my scene partner who didn't have the same experiences in front of a group that I had. So like, I noticed a difference is all I'm saying. I was still nervous, but there was a difference.
For years, I used to tell people I wasn't good in social settings. I was awkward, I didn't know how to talk to people. And then I started to notice throughout time that stopped being true because I got more confident on stage, because I built a skill set, that I was actually still believing that. And then also it wasn't true. So then when I started to notice that I had shifted and I had grown, now I would say 70% more confident depending on the social situation. So like a good example is if I'm going to meet a group of friends with you and they're your friends and I don't know them, because I'm friends with you, you know what I mean? I know you're not going to let me fall. Also, if you're friends with them and I'm friends with you, most likely we're all on the same page. You know what I mean? So there's things that I can like mentally gear myself up where I'm like, this isn't as scary as you're making it out to be, because A, you're with your best friend, and B, your friend likes them. Therefore, there's got to be some kind of similarity. Where I start to get nervous again or start to worry is when I'm going in blind. Like, I went to a conference. It was like a tech conference. I went with my friend Chris. This was like 2 years ago, it was before the pandemic. And it's like, I don't know what we're actually going to. I don't know what type of people we're meeting. You know what I mean? And so like Chris is much being like, hi, I'm Chris. And I'm just like, whoa, what are we doing here? Like, oh my God. Like, I don't know. What are we going to, like, I don't even know what we're at right now. Like, so that's when I start to like freak out.
When we were in DC, and granted it was like your audience, but when we were in DC, like the meet and greets we were a world apart as far as I was always like, hi, I had nothing to sell. I had nothing to say, and then you're like, hey, how are you? What's your name? Blah, blah, blah. Like you're really good at actually talking to people. And I just feel like,
that's super safe for me. These people already like me. They just saw me be funny for an hour. We all had a shared experience at the very least, which was that show. So that's super safe. And in my mind, as somebody that was on the other side of it, where you are, because I would open up for Hari Kondabolu, they just saw me do 20 minutes. They liked it. And, if if they're a Hurry fan, I know that we have similarities, and I would just, so in my mind, that's a safer experience for you because they saw you, they know a little bit about you, and if they like your comedy, they're more likely to like you as a person.
I get that, but I'm just saying, like, I don't have the social skills to make small talk while they are waiting to talk to you. I think maybe somewhere in the back of my head, not consciously, but I was like, they're not here. They just want to talk to Liz. And I just happen to be standing here while they're waiting. And so it's like, do I talk to them? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I lead with compliments mostly because that's how I was raised, but also I like compliments. So usually the first thing, it's like something I notice about them, then I'd be like, oh, somebody brought their curls. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because I'm like excited.
That would never, ever occur to me. But you're good at, like, because you're an older sister, you're good at like treating people like siblings. I see it with everybody. When we were in London, we'd go into a shop. This guy, you and our other friend were not in the store yet, wouldn't fucking acknowledge me. And I was like, hey, how are you? He was like, yeah, like, whatever. Like, he just blew me off. And so I was like, cool. He's at work. We don't have to be friends. And you come in and you're like, hey, buddy, you're all American. And I was like, he hates you. There's knives all over the store too. And I was like, oh no. And you're like, what's up, buddy? How's it going? I love this stuff, man. This is great. Like and he's just like, oh. And then he like opens up to you and then you're talking and having a conversation. I was like, what the fuck is this? I was nice.
I also did buy something.
But he didn't know I wasn't going to buy anything, and I wasn't. It was really expensive, but like, he didn't know that. And he could have sold me something, but he didn't want to talk to me. And I thought I was being respectful by being like, all right, this dude's at work, he didn't want to talk to me, and I don't want to bother him. Yeah. And you're like, I'm going to bother him, and it worked. And then you became best friends, and I think he came to the show. You know what I mean? Like,
we're married. That's what's craziest about the story is that we're married now. I will say this though, I am aggressively myself and I don't know how to turn it off anymore because of comedy. And two things happen. People are almost shocked that, like, Jesus, like, okay. And it almost takes down their it just like dissolves some of people's walls sometimes.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, and I talk about it as a life bomb, it's too much. And I watch people either get scared or get angry. And then that's where the comedy happens, where I'm just like, yee, like, ugh. Whatever the opposite of looking forward to seeing someone is, it's just genuinely, I'm just like, oh, I just ruined that person's day by being myself. Cool.
Yeah. Oh.
But thank you, Phil. I do think regardless of doing comedy or not, it is a skill set and you can get stronger doing it. But I do look at each social interaction as practice. And when it does go well, I have to very much tell myself that went well. And you can't keep saying these are all scary when you have so many experiences now where they did go well and they were fun and you made it fun. So I also try to almost update the filing cabinet of experiences. So I'm not always looking back to how I felt when I was 15 and being like, talking to people is scary, because that's just not true anymore.
Yeah, there are definitely things I need to update that I just keep in my brain. Like, that comedy is scary. I'm like, when am I just gonna be at peace with this career? Yeah, cool. But thanks, Phil.
All right, Googles, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I Googled why does what was it? Basically, like, why do my wounds heal dark?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been dealing with scars not healing the way I want them to.
Okay, why do my wounds leave a permanent dark scar? And there's a Grateful Dead song called Dark Star. And so the whole time I was reading this, I thought of that song. So there are a few reasons why a scar might turn dark. If it was exposed to sunlight during the healing process, there's a good chance the scar tissues will become pigmented. Dark scars can also be caused by inflammation, poor healing, or the genetics of your skin and how your skin heals. So I don't think my scars used to always heal dark, but like I had a random wound on my foot, like the top of my foot. I don't know where it came from, but it was a wound and then it healed and now there's a dark spot there. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then I burnt my thumb and it healed.
I did that same thing.
Did you? I burned it on a curling iron.
Oh my God.
Did you?
Sorry, mine was also hair related.
Sweet. But like they did say that burns do generally heal darker, probably because you burnt it. But it's they also said it would be like shinier, which mine was shiny. It had this like really ugly look for a while. Like it just looked like it was like I looked like I was diseased or something. I don't know. I didn't like it. But anyway, so sun exposure, genetics, and like fucking anything, hormones, stress, like everything causes your skin to fuck up.
So there's a couple of things. I had an older Google, I don't know if you remember, that was like, why am I scarring more? Like it felt like I had less scars, and it really is like older skin scars more. So I do think just in general, your body starts healing shittier.
Yeah.
In general. But I will say this, have you ever seen like scar cream? It's supposed to like make scars look less visible.
Yeah.
So I used to put that stuff on me all the time when I was a teenager. And I've read now in a couple of different places that it really doesn't do anything. It does do something, but it doesn't do much more than lotion. Because what it was saying was that these scar creams, they tell you to put it on there, like I'm using my hand, you would put it on that scar 3 times a day. But they were like, if you just put lotion on there 3 times a day, it does almost the same amount. So there must be something connected to moisture and just supporting your skin that might just be helping in general. So yeah, you could get scar cream, or you could just be constantly moisturizing like that, your hand in that area, and that might help. Also, we talked about it a little bit because I had a Google about falling doing a box jump, and then my mom did that years ago, and she basically literally split her leg open. We called it a shark bite. You could see her bone. It was insane. Anyway, this scar, it was like crazy. It was like this big V, and it looked like a shark bite, and it was so prominent. And my mom went to show it to me literally when she was here last week. You barely can see it. I'm not saying it didn't take a while for it to heal, but this was a very prominent scar my mom had forever. And now it's probably been over 10 years now, but I do think we notice it more because it just healed and you're like, what the fuck is this? But I do think over time, they do start to fade a bit, depending on how deep it is. So to me, a burn on your hand from a curling iron, it will eventually fade. It just might take longer because we're older, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, because I think our skin regenerates less. Regenerates? Yeah. But that's why they tell you to do like, you could do like microdermabrasion or chemical peels or whatever. Like it rips away the surface of the skin to reveal new skin and cause your skin to make more cells. And then I love my like reenaction of very scientific processes for face, but I'm like, then they zap it. You can zap it with a laser and just pow, 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 and it goes up, it goes away.
And then brighter, beautiful, more, you have a whole new face.
You emerge from the ashes like a phoenix. Beautiful newborn baby face.
But all this is to say is I think it sucks right now, but I don't think it'll suck forever.
Yeah, that's okay.
My non-doctor opinion.
I appreciate that. But by the time it heals, I'll be like, oh, I'm old now. It doesn't matter.
Well, I have scabs on my shin from missing that box jump. And I'm like doing everything I can to like heal it, because I don't want these matching scars on my shin. Like I was like, I should Google it, but I was like putting a lotion on it because it was itchy, but I didn't want to itch it because I didn't want to peel up the scar or the scab, because if you peel up the scab, that's more like, and so I'm just like trying to nurture these scabs as best I can. And I don't know what I'm doing. I'm raising scabs.
Great.
Probably the grossest thing I've ever said. Just raising 2 scabs. My Google's silly. Especially because it doesn't even apply anymore because I already fell off it. But I went processed sugar free a couple of weeks ago. I knew I wasn't going to keep it leading up to my special taping because I was going to get stressed, but it was just funny how quickly it fell off. My friend was like, do you want bubble tea, when I was in Cleveland? And I was like, absolutely, I do. I've been waiting my whole life. Yeah, like Jesus. It was so good. And then I needed snacks, and I'll go back on it. But what I noticed a couple of weeks ago is, and again, I didn't go sugar-free. I just went processed sugar-free. So I was still having honey. I was having coconut sugar, fruit. And it was actually really hard to go. Okay. So I Googled, does going off processed sugar make you tired? Because I was like, for a week, just beat up. And some of it was like jet lag, but even after jet lag was finished, I was still like, just really like lethargic. And everything I Googled was like, yes, going sugar-free. And I was like, I'm not sugar-free. I still have sugar. It's processed sugar. So it took much more investigating than I would have liked. But it says when you eat less sugar or remove it from out of your diet, we go through sugar withdrawal. And the symptoms can include depression, anxiety, brain fog, cravings, alongside headaches, fatigue, and dizziness. So I think just in general, your body does get used to a certain amount of sugar. And when you take it, so it might not even be that it's not processed. It might be the fact that I'm just taking in significantly less sugar. And my body is like, this was an energy source. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And it does equal out, but it took about a week and a half for me to like not feel just like run down.
That's crazy. I don't know. It feels like whenever we try to do good things for ourselves, our bodies are like, I have to adjust because I don't know what you're trying to do. And I'm like, no, yoga. It's just yoga. My body's like, I need like 5 days. I can't handle it.
I can't handle your will to live and your excitement for movement. It's quite offensive.
The sudden need to be healthy is unfamiliar territory, and I just need to
we're not used to this. We're going to actually Google it ourselves. What is she doing? Just like,
Can that be the name of our Tune On Doctors book? What is she doing?
It's just our body being like, ooh, your choices are not what we want. Yeah. So I'm back on sugar, trying to be responsible about it, but I'm going to and back on gluten. I fell off that as well.
Oh, dude, I fell off gluten for a bit, and then I got so snotty that I was like, so I'm back on not gluten. But
yeah, I'll join you. Give me like 3 days. I'll join you. Because I was really happy. I really was like proud of myself and happy, and I was getting in a groove. And then
I also think these habits are really hard to like, when people quit smoking, it takes them like 7 attempts before that actually sticks. And I think like making major changes like this to your diet, you're going to start and stop sugar a few times before it actually sticks. The same when I quit alcohol.
Also, I was going to say the same thing with, and I don't actually know if this is real science, so I would love for somebody to correct me. Science. But science. So I always use this comparison with sugar the same way you compared with cigarettes. They actually say every time you quit smoking, it actually helps your body. So even if you just quit smoking for a month and went back to it, you gave your body a break to start letting it heal. And they actually say that it's not that bad, the act of starting and stopping, because each time you're giving your body some relief from this poison. So I was trying to think of it the same way with sugar, so that even though I haven't been consistently off sugar, I have given myself a bunch of breaks, and hopefully that is giving my body some time to heal. I don't know if that's true, but I've been comparing it in that sense.
No, I think that you're probably right. I'm sure it has some goodness to it. Keep it up. I think any break you can give your body, it's great.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get personal.
Is when you go back and it's worse because you went.
So far. No, that's that. You go. Yeah, that's also where you're just like.
I love our sound effects. Can we explain everything with sound effects? You go whoop whoop.
Give me all that cake. Okay. All right. Let's get personal.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you interested in that most people aren't?
Like, I read this question right before we started the podcast, and I feel like I'm such a basic bitch when it comes to my interests. I'm like, I love lattes and Charles Bukowski. And like, I don't feel like.
I actually don't think that's true.
Really?
No, because half the stuff you're reading, I think, I mean, you were telling me about the stuff you were reading and I was very interested, but I was like, I wondered how many people would be as dorky interested in like a lot of like the history stuff you're learning.
Okay, so I'm interested in like I was reading a book about female performers in the 1920s Cairo. So there's that.
And then you also, what was it, that Cuban book you were reading?
Red Heat. Yeah. About
I just like history. I wouldn't say that I'm uniquely interested in 1920s Egyptian performers and, you know, the Cuban Missile Crisis or whatever.
Once I combine those two stories, Cuban Missile Crisis and Egyptian female performers of the 1920s, it's going to be fucking amazing, dude. Like, I have no idea how I'm going to do it, but it's going to, mind.
And isn't that, it's so funny, isn't that what a pitch meeting is taking your interest and trying to convince people to give you money so that other people can be interested in it?
100%. I've already came up with my pitch for a musical I was thinking about. So yeah.
The first thing I thought of with this question was just like being a business person in comedy. Like I get so dorky into like the business aspects of it. And I just watch comics' eyes glaze over and they all say the same thing where they're just like, oh, you're so lucky you like this. Like, or I'm not interested in this.
Fair enough. Like you have to like it to some extent to like, but you did it because you like success more, I think. Like, I don't think you just,
or I wanted people to see my comedy. Like
exactly.
I didn't like, it was a necessary, and I've learned to make it creative. Like I call it creative business. Believe me, I had to do a bunch of invoices to get my money for all the European stuff. And it was like, it took me 3 weeks to send an invoice. One invoice. Like I hate it. There's nothing fun about making an invoice.
You need to get an app.
Oh, you should tell me what app. I fucking hate this stuff.
I will.
Okay, thank you. But like, I have learned to make the business side of presenting myself, pitching myself, whatever. I've learned to make it fun and I've learned to get into it. And I've read so many books about it. And I do feel lucky that I like it. And my dad has a great business sense and my dad does creative business, but I can see that when I talk about business to comics or other creative people, they're just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to know this. I just want it to happen.
I know, but you get so excited about it. You make me like excited about it. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to fuck with the algorithms. Like, I don't know what she just said, but I'm on board because you're like so passionate about it. But I mean, I think that's great, and I do think you should be paid for all your knowledge. And I know you just help people because you're kind, and that's good. But you're basically comedy's Gary Vee. And you should be paid accordingly. He makes a fuckload of money, or at least he presents himself to. But yeah,
I hope he makes a fuck ton of money.
I hope so too. Otherwise, what are we all working?
He at least has a staff. Yeah, what are we all shooting for if Gary Vee's broke?
Yeah.
I also think and clearly there are people interested in because they listen to our podcast, but just like how the body works. Like I can see I got that from my parents. Like my dad was explaining something to me when I saw him and he was explaining how things work. And keep in mind, my dad's like, because he went to school for it, it's like getting like super sciencey. But when he pulls away from it a little bit, I'm like, that's so cool. Like I don't know. I just get like, even like learning about how like your body heals itself, like from like a cut and like the scars and how we look at scars and we're like, oh, they're ugly. But really that's your body. You're like a lizard. Your body made new skin. Like that's crazy. Like because like my favorite, I used to get the New York Times when I have the online subscription. So I used to look at it, but Tuesday was my favorite day because New York Times has the Science Times. And I love reading all like the, just like the data and the new things they discovered, and they found a new fish in the ocean. And like, I don't know. I just love all the, like how things work, sciencey, silly stuff, even though clearly we're not good at it.
No, but we try, but I like interpersonal relationship stuff, but I think that's like the comedian in me. I like anything about like how two people interact and like different points of view. And I love Larry David because of this, just taking a very small, socially awkward thing and blowing it up and out of proportion. And I love French movies about dinner parties. I love watching people interact.
So specific.
Like only the French do this. They'll have an entire movie based on a dinner party, and I love them.
It's amazing. Yeah, I talk about having no interest, zero interest in that. Zero.
Cool.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, you know what I like, and I think it's because of where we are. I love office gossip. I love other people's off. I almost treat it the way people treat like celebrity stuff. They're like, did you know that Kim Kardashian's doing da da da? I don't give a shit. But if a friend of mine is like, so like my running buddy, she's always sharing stuff with me. And I now know these people are now characters. Yeah. Because I've never met them. I know all their names. She'll be like, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, oh my God, yeah, what she did 2 years ago to you is fucked up. But like, I've never met these people. It's her office. And I love like, and this is like minutia, like this is like they didn't submit an accounting form that they know they were supposed to submit. And I'm like, she knows that. She does know that. Like, yeah. I get so into other people's office gossip because we kind of have an office with comedy, but it's just not the same. And it's at like somebody stealing somebody's lunch or somebody fucking, I don't know, left a dump in a bathroom. I get so into it. All right. Ready to get into the topic?
Yep.
All right. Our topic this week is not having kids. And I feel like this is the first time we might be the most ready for a topic, right? Just two people.
I didn't have to research.
Yeah. I did no research. Dude, I read some articles that like, even though like I read these articles or like there were like reasons to not have kids. And this one, I was like, well, this bitch is crazy. Like genuinely just like, cause I was like reading it and I was like writing it down. I was like, that's a good point. And I was like, oh, this bitch is nuts. Like,
what was nuts about her? What do you mean?
So it starts out, let me see if I can find the article. Okay. So it's called Why Choosing to Be Childless Can Be a Smart Move. This was March 9th, 2022. So this shit's recent. So at first you're just like, okay, so it's like, you know, there's many reasons you might not want to have kids. You know, you could have health problems, you could have body image concerns, relationship, mental health, whatever, career concerns, financial concerns. And you're like, oh, that's great. But then like four disadvantages of having a child. And then it's like things that make sense, like childbirth is difficult, which there's tons of things that can go wrong. Like that's where you get really mad about like anti-abortion laws, where you're like, hey man, this is like a major procedure. Like this isn't like people used to die and people still do die having children. So to just pretend like this isn't a big deal is crazy to me. But she's making a point to be like, there's so many things that could go wrong. Like and there's before and after, like, you know, although some of it, she's like, loss of calcium causes women's teeth to fall out. And I'm like, that's not the number one. Like, that's not number one. I've never heard of that in my goddamn life.
It's so fucking far out there that it's like, are there no reasons to not have kids? Like, why did
also like, there's tons, both from vain to like real things that could go wrong during childbirth, after childbirth, whatever.
Just not adding to the population.
Yeah, but I have never heard you could lose your teeth. I was like, what? So that's like one of the first crazy things where I'm like, did she make that up?
Oh my God.
And then she goes, disabilities are a risk. And you're like, yeah, of course. And then she's talking about taking care of, you know, the price of taking care of a child that might need surgeries or disabilities. You're like, yep, that's a valid point. But like the way and then she goes into substance abuse is an issue so she's already like, this kid's 15 and he's doing heroin. Like she is like, I just find her to be kind of crazy, where you're just like, your kids someday could have issues with drugs. And you're like, what? Right. And then and then she was just like, you know, you can't control your children. And so I was like, yeah, I mean, duh. I can't even, I'm sorry. It was just like,
she sounds
her perspective is kind of crazy. Like, I'm not saying she doesn't make some valid points, but she was just like, if you have a kid, they're going to do drugs and they're not going to listen to you. And they're probably going to be pieces of shit. And you're like, does your mom not like you? Like, I think your mom doesn't like you. So it was just so funny where like, I was trying to find these articles, but they were all mostly opinions. Of course, that's what we're doing. And they were just kind of like, but
the Facebook groups about like child free by choice there's a lot of good, like, there's a lot of normal people. There's just a lot of people who are like straight up angry that they even have to defend their position to not have kids, which I understand.
Or the ones that are just like, they cry on planes and you're like, hey man, it's a baby. Like, that's the thing, is that like, I as somebody that really doesn't want to have them, has no interest. Like, that's what I loved about your joke on your album, where you're like, someone hands me a baby and you're like, I feel nothing. Like, I relate to that so much. And don't get me wrong, I hold my friends' kids. I've held kids my entire life. I know how to take care of a kid. They're wonderful, but there's nothing telling me that I want one. As opposed to when I see a cat a mile away, I'm chasing people that have a cat in a carrier. I'm asking them, like, where'd you get your cat? Do you still want to keep your cat? Like, I'm trying to steal cats from strangers, and babies, I'm just like, am I done?
Yeah.
Am I done?
Yeah.
Am I done holding this?
You're not running up to kids trying to talk to them.
Yeah. So I have girlfriends that are like getting to the place where they're like scared they might not have kids. Like, they're not in the relationship. They're debating if they should freeze their eggs. Like, they're in this mental place of, this was a goal. This is a dream, and it might not be happening. And I have to safeguard the few eggs that I have left. I'm like, every period that goes by is
Bye,
a
bitch.
blessing.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm just like, bye eggs. Didn't want you anyway.
Yeah, I never understood that drive, I guess. Like, I just never had it. I had a friend who just, like, that was her whole thing. She just wanted to be a mom, which is fine. Like, I'm lucky you fucking knew that. I just didn't. I had another friend who had 2 kids, but she at the time wasn't really ready and didn't really necessarily want kids. But like, she loves them now, and she's now, after a few years. No, but like, the decision was made for her, and she was happy that it was, and like, she's happy as a mother. And who's to say, like, if I didn't accidentally get pregnant and, have a child, I wouldn't be like, I'm glad I did that, because I wouldn't have done it, and I didn't know I could feel love like this. And I gotta say, I don't want to feel love like that. Like, I don't want to feel so much love. It actually hurts me inside, and I don't know what to do with it. And I don't know what I would ever do if anything happened to the object that I love so much. Like, I don't want that. It's a lot of love. And I'm fine with this amount of love. Like, I was talking to Johnny this morning about skydiving, and I was like, what is there after that? Like, what do you do with your life? Like, you've now. Yeah, and he was like, well, there's like different levels of skydiving. I'm like, yeah, but that's the only thing you can do. Like, you're now an adrenaline junkie, and all you can do is like fall out of an airplane with a squirrel costume on to get your kicks. And like, that's where you go from there. But like, I don't want to know that amount of bliss because I don't want to then have to top it. I don't know. But I also don't want to know that amount of bliss for kids, because if like, it also would come with that much pain if, God forbid, anything were to happen.
Well, that's what was interesting, is they say is that actually it's people that have kids have higher highs, but they also have lower lows. And you're just like, ooh, because I mean,
sounds unsteady.
God forbid anybody has lost their child. I have had friends that had miscarriages that were devastated. So I can't even imagine what it would feel like to lose a child at any age, whether it's a young child to, they say the worst thing you can ever do is bury your kid. So I understand what you're saying, where you're just like, that's an amount of love that can be taken, that not only do you achieve, but now you have to worry about that. Yeah. And then if God forbid anything, I worry when someone stays at my place and I give them my keys, and then I have to be like, did you get in okay? Are you okay? Are you dead on the streets? Like, and this is a full grown adult.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I've been that adult.
Yeah. I'm just like, are you okay? Where you're like, I was like, did you figure out the shower? And you're like, dude, I'm gonna be
burning
fine.
to death under the hot water. How could you do this to me?
Yeah, I'm like giving a shower. I was like, okay, so it's good, but a little bit of hot, then a little bit. You're like, yes, I know how showers work. Insane. It's interesting to me. I think we have almost different perspectives, where like, because I raised my little brothers, because I had so much responsibility at a young age, I feel, even though it's been I left home at 18, like, even though it's been almost 20 years of not taking care of kids, not having to do laundry, not having to drive them to soccer practice, even though I've not been like a sister mom in 20 years, I still feel so resentful towards that kind of responsibility, where like the idea of having a kid tomorrow, I'd be like, I already did this. Like, I've already done that. I've already held baby. Like, but I didn't breastfeed. I didn't give birth. And, I didn't pay for anything. But outside of that, I feel like I have one's in law school. I think I did a good job. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like these are my children, like, and they're my brothers and whatever, but I did so much and I was so tired and I felt so heavy with responsibility that probably I shouldn't have had as a kid, that there is residual resentment, not resentment, because I'm not resentful, but like my whole body is like, I don't want to do that again. And I have my freedom. Like, I like my life. I have my freedom. I can even see how that pushes how I feel about anybody that tries to put walls on my life, whether that's a boss, whether that's a relationship. I clearly like taking care of things because I feel less alive not having a cat right now. Like, I literally was like getting dressed the other day and I was just like, oh, my clothes are on the floor and they're exactly where I left them. Like, there should be like a cat sleeping in it or like a cat pulling it. Like, Pasta used to steal my socks. Like, I know where all my socks are. That's so upsetting. Like, So like, I can tell I like being a caregiver, as somebody that's a caregiver to my friends, as somebody that's a caregiver to animals. Like, I like taking care of people, but there's something about the forever responsibility of a kid that I absolutely am like, I know for a fact I don't want that, even if I was good at it. And that's how people try to convince you, oh, you'd be such a great mother. Yeah, I'd also be good at business. Like, I'd also be good at selling real estate, but I don't want to sell real estate.
Nobody's ever said that to me. You'd be such a good mom. But I think I would be, actually. As long as my baby was a girl.
Do you think so? Do you think you would have trouble raising a boy?
No, not at all. I think I'd be a good mom. I think, yeah, I think
Oh my God, they would be such good cooks. First of all, your kids would eat amazing. And then your kids would be the kid where they're like, oh yeah, Johnny came over and he cooked everybody an omelet. Sorry, I used Johnny, that's your boyfriend. Billy came over and he cooked everybody an omelet. Like,
that's okay. I have a friend who's used like Johnny and like 2 of her scripts for like teenage adolescent boys. I'm like, what do you like? You can't say anything because it's not necessarily Johnny, but like, why that name? Can't you just pick another name?
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
But like the financial thing's another thing. It's like I am, even if I were married right now, like, I don't have money for me. Like, I just don't know how I would even pay for kids.
And that's what's interesting, is that like the government is pushing children on you, society is pushing children on you, and nobody's done anything to make it affordable. Like, nobody talks about to have a kid, even with health insurance, it's a crap ton of money. Then the most expensive thing is children, and the most money you spend is children. And I think, did you read that Gabe Ramonte book where like companies know you're pregnant before you do? Like, they see your shopping and stuff like that. So
yeah. And then like somebody got in front, like her dad found out she was pregnant because they sent her coupons.
Yeah. And it's because they already saw the writing in her searches or whatever. And like Target's already sending you coupons for like diapers. So the truth of the matter is that group of people is the highest spending, early childhood, like being both pregnant to early childhood is the most amount of spending somebody does. So it's like literally capitalism. Like, there's so much money going into the system just having a child. But then you have school, then you have, doctors, like everything about a kid is just so much money. And there's nothing wrong with that, but nothing about America specifically is setting you up to be able to handle that. So like, there was a great example with what's going on with abortion rights right now, where it's like America's like, you have to have kids. And what do you call it? Scandinavia is like, oh, we're doing the opposite, which is, oh, we're going to make it so easy for you to have kids. We're going to give you this much maternity leave. We're going to make sure that, any need that your kid needs is paid for. We're going to give you all these benefits so that this thing that you're doing is as easy as possible. And America's like, no, you just do it. Like, America's like having kids is a prison that you have to be a part of. And other countries are like, well, let's make this a joyous experience of life and bonding. And that's where it starts to be even more resentful as a woman here, where it's just like, not only are you trying to make me do something I don't want to do, but you're going to make it the hardest thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah. 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 As in Scandinavia, like they do everything so perfectly that like they're almost like just like the neighbor that's so perfect. And you're like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Oh, it must be
Nice and
nice.
perfect.
Oh, you get 6 years off after you have a kid. Must be nice. So some of the benefits that were written on the internet, you leave a smaller carbon footprint.
That's
a
why I
valid
do
point.
it. Honestly, it's all for the
Yeah,
environment.
honestly,
Mm.
I just care about the birds and stuff. Less stressed, which goes back to the parents have higher highs, but they have lower lows. More disposable income, which we talked about. I didn't like the disadvantages that I found. Lack of companionship, being alone, loneliness. I don't know if you should be using your kids as companions.
That's actually another thing I wanted to talk about is like people always like, but who's going to take care of you when you're older? And it's like, I'm not going to bank on someone who might hate me by the time they become a teenager and run off and I never see them again. Like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Before they're born, they have a job?
Yeah.
Come on, dude. I think that's such a shitty, first of all, like my dad basically has saved up for elder care because he wants to control how he's taken care of, which is valid. And he had 5 kids. And it just kind of made me be like, all right, then that's something I will save up for. Like, I think it's so, don't get me wrong. I understand you cared for your kids and you hope they'll care for you back. I think that is respectful and the right thing to do, but also it's not always, your needs might be too hard for an individual, as well as if I can't just quit my job and stop being a person depending on what your needs are. So it's like, I hope I'm able to take care of my parents, but also I know with my lifestyle now, I'm not going to be that reliable. So
well, that's why they had 4 other siblings. So
yeah,
they had 4 other kids,
but I also don't want to
increase their chances of someone being able to take care of them.
Yeah, but they also had 5 kids. They had a business and they wanted somebody to become a veterinarian and nobody did. So, you can't you can't control what's going to happen. But I completely agree that this they say lack of support or care when you're older, and you're just like, we have to stop having this rigid idea that kids are just there to take care of you. And I just think it's bullshit. I don't know. And then also
back to a tribe mentality where it's just a bunch of families hanging out together forever. And so, the younger people take care of the elder community, but it's not just one family or one child.
I agree. And I think there's something beautiful about people taking care of their neighbors and people checking it, like this being this, like you said, like this community where everybody's helping out and it's not just falls on one kid who has to now take care of their parents. And that's the whole reason they had them, is that, I don't know. I just think it's bullshit. But again, being back to being alone or loneliness, I never think it's a good idea to have a kid just because you're lonely. Again, that's so much pressure on a kid. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, get a dog.
100%. Put that on a dog. You put that pressure on an animal, like I do.
The other thing,
then they can't go to therapy.
What do you think? I feel like you and I have maybe one other friend who are on the not having kids path. And I worry because I've had really, really close friends have babies and I've lost them. I never want to speak to them again. And no, it's a joke, but there are, they end up befriending other mothers because they understand what they're going through. And you don't lose them as a friend. They're always in your life. But there is a sort of life event that's now happened that you're not there for. And so it almost feels like you've been left behind or something, but it's just how do you reconcile that? How do you deal with the friends that are moving on, quote unquote, with their lives? And it's just now all the pressure is on you, Liz. If you decide you meet a great guy and you two want to have kids, I'm going to be like, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know. I'm going to be on my own.
Well, so 2 things. So I had one of my best friends had a kid pretty early. I think she was 23, 24. So her kids are 8, 12, something like that now. I don't feel like our relationship changed that much. I mean, sometimes being on the phone, there's yelling or whatever. And whatever. But like, I actually think it depends on the person. So if somebody completely goes, this is my identity, I'm a mom now, yeah, you're going to lose them because now you're not. And also what your identity is. So if you're a partier and that was your party friend, and then they become a mom and they're like, now I'm a mom now. Yeah, their identity is completely shifted. That like, what do you have to talk about? But like, I feel like my friend Danny, I don't, while she loves being a mom, she loves her kids. I don't feel like her identity is I'm a mom. I feel like her identity is just as, I feel it's like another thing she's added
Yeah,
to
but
all the
like you're
things that
missing the
make her
sort of
who
like, I
she
don't
is.
know. Then maybe I'm not explaining. I just feel like there's a sort of something more subtle than that. It's not like people are like, okay, well, we're not friends anymore because you don't understand anything I'm going through. It's like they're still there, but it's the dynamic definitely changes. Your friendship changes. Because you just don't know what they're going through and what they're dealing with, and their
But
everyday
that's
life
true.
changes.
But there's things in my life that you've never experienced and you've still been able to be there for me. I mean, I think I believe me, as somebody, my sisters had kids. I just had two girlfriends, literally like my friends from high school just had both had a kid 2 months apart. And I'm not even joking. I was like, I'm going to get a kitten so we can raise our kids together. Then my kitten died. And now even more so, we're in a group chat that I have nothing to control. I at least made fun jokes when I had my kitten. I was like, tell me about it. Tots keeps me up all night. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I literally have nothing to contribute to this group chat. That being said, while their lives are completely changed in a way that like even this moment where they have young kids and they're exhausted and they're not even working, they're literally just raising these kids. I don't get me wrong, there's going to be people you lose because there's nothing you can connect with, but I also think it's part of your job to work through that connection. Do you know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
do know what you're saying. I
you
also
also
do
have
feel
to
like
change.
that's a bit of an extreme. Like, I guess I'm not worried about losing them completely as a friend. I'm probably like not like explaining myself very well. It just feels different. And like, it's not like I'm still out there partying and being like a college student refusing to grow up, and like the friends who have older kids, like I don't know, the dynamic doesn't seem about the kids as much, but like new moms are like, I mean, understandably, their lives are very much about the kids, and there are plenty of phone calls that I'll have with friends that are new moms that are like, it's interrupted because they're tending to the kid, and they're going to bed at 9, and like, I don't know, it's just different. It's just different.
I think it's just a shift. And I think for me, I consider it the same way that if somebody got a job that was more taxing, you know what I mean? Like, and I guess because my life is so different from everybody else's lives, I've already had this problem with people that have 9 to 5s, because as soon as they come home and they want to talk, I'm like, I have a friend that every day she'll try to call me around 6 and I'm like, I'm out the door. Like, I just showered. I'm running to a show. This is not my most opportune time. So, I'm traveling on the weekends, I'm working at night. And so because my life has already looked so different than other people, them having a kid doesn't really shift that dynamic even too much more so I guess for me, I just see it as having a kid is just having another job I don't relate to, but I'm always asking my friends about work, even if I don't understand what they do. So it's just, and I guess my perspective is different from yours because I did take care of my siblings and I do have maybe not the full experience, but I have some understanding and what have you. But I don't know. I have a lot of friends that are like, once somebody has a kid, they're like, oh my God, that friendship is over. And I don't know. I don't feel that way. Maybe because even though I don't want to have kids, I love being around kids. Like, I was even telling a story to my dad. And Danny knows the story. So when I was staying with my friend Danny, who has like the 8 and 12-year-old, she went to work and I was hanging out with her kids, and her son Will had to do like these math games. And he would ask me, he'd be like, oh, how do you do this? And I'd be like, I think it's like this, but I don't know. So we would do it. And then immediately if you got it right or not. So then it would be like, you got it correct. We're high-fiving. We're freaking, like, he thinks I'm just being fun. I'm like, we got it right. Like, I'm so bad at math. Like, I should not be helping this kid with his math homework. But like, finding the joy, like I bought her this game for her birthday and we were playing this game while she was at work. Like, I don't know. I guess for me, I know how to shift, or I don't mind the shift. Don't get me wrong. It sucks sometimes, especially talking to my older sister, where like there's just screaming in the background and I haven't been able to even think clearly myself to ask her how she's doing. But I don't know.
There's a really funny scene in
I,
Sex and the City when they were going to brunch and then Miranda shows up with her baby and Samantha's like, no, and just opens a taxi cab and pushes Miranda.
I can get resentful when all of a sudden the person that you were friends with is gone. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
their complete identity has become another person. It's like, yeah, well, that happens with anything where somebody gets into drugs or somebody gets into some weird friend group that you're like,
I would be that friend, because like I know when I'm in Edinburgh, when I'm doing the month-long run in Edinburgh, I am not a friend to anybody. I don't have the
yeah,
headspace for anyone, and so I'm sure if I was a new mom, I would be shutting people out left and right.
which is also valid. Like I've done the same thing where I know I'm touring and I'll literally tell my friends, I'd be like, I'm not going to be human for 3 weeks. So I'll do the best I can. But the accessible Liz, is gone. And I think that's valid. But I don't know. We should probably wrap up. But
Fuck.
I would love to hear from people that have had kids and why, maybe what things they thought before they had kids that changed after they had them. I would also like to hear from people that don't have kids and the benefits they didn't even realize that they had. I don't think either of us are going to change. I really don't. I'm happy to eat my words, but I don't really see myself changing in that place. But I love being an aunt. I love being a caretaker. I have a new joke about my niece where I'm like, my whole goal is for this kid to like me more than my sister. I will buy her candy. I'll buy her drugs. Like, I want to be the favorite.
That's
So
so
it's like,
funny. We're just so different. Like we're both non-moms, but you're like the like substitute mom, and I'm like, I just don't want to talk to kids.
yeah. I've fully embraced fun aunt. And I want to be to my friends that have kids, to my sister that had kids. Like, my favorite joke when my friends have kids, they're babies. Like, they barely can lift their head up. And I'm like, Aunt Liz, say it with me now. Aunt, like, I'm already trying to be annoying. So I like being an aunt. I want that part of my life to be full. So I can see how we're coming from different sides where like, I still want to be around kids, but in this different aspect, even though I have no desire to make them on my own. I want to have an animal family with
You're
a
gonna
boy,
have a comedy family, just a bunch of comedians.
I love that.
All right.
But you can write to us. Where can they write to us, Maria?
At tuneondoctors@gmail.com. That's the number 2 full word doctors@gmail.com. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Bye.